Hi, Sonny. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all
Joel
right.
just came back from a 10-day Vipassana retreat. So yeah, please share your experience. How'd everything go?
Um, it's still kind of difficult for me to put into words. I think it needs
Yeah.
some more time. I mean, it's definitely in one way, my mind would say it's brutal. Like it's. I mean, what I can saw was just you kind of you're not anybody anymore. If you don't need to be anybody anymore if you don't talk. And that feels relieving, but also then I understood what they mean by the fire of purification. The ego really like it doesn't like that. It really doesn't like that. But it's I mean totally it's a really changing experience, and
Yeah.
I
You
think
notice
it's
over there, right? Like how much we need to constantly be doing or in a state of like pursuing something. Whereas over there, all your activity comes to a halt and it's so uncomfortable and unbearable because yeah, like you can no longer derive a sense of identity from constant doing, you know? And then like all like your mind's content is just laid bare and you have to face that. Yeah, so it can definitely be very uncomfortable.
and I mean the tech. I don't know. Do you know about Vipassana? But the technique itself also is.
Yeah, I did a retreat already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
Okay.
went to Vipassana 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I still like I do have I usually don't my mind is not that confused anymore, but right now I do have a couple of questions. I might just go into
To
some and
just give
maybe
an
you can
overview before your questions, to just give an overview for everybody,
yeah.
the Vipassana retreat is, I mean, the Vipassana technique is, in essence, what we here call acceptance, which is learning to be with experience, observe experience without judgment, description, analysis, projection, motive, just learning to all those activities you can observe, you see, right? So in that practice, it is also a direct experience practice, meaning it is done on the level of attention, and there's nothing like you're not doing anything, you're not making anything happen, you're just learning to see experience as it is. So I think the definition of Vipassana is like learning to see experience as it is, learning to see life as it is. You can only see life as it is through just observing, meaning just being with, seeing experience as it is. And this is a very powerful thing because when you try to do so, the mind keeps arising with its descriptions and judgments and comfort and discomfort, this push and pull, clinging and resisting. But if we just keep being with even that as it is, even that as it is, it's like we externalize it. These things which were previously operating as us, now they're arising, and now we can actually learn to observe even them. And through that very seeing of them, the identification with them is broken. We see that this is not me, not mine, that it is also an impermanent experience that comes and goes, that I'm not coming and going. I am seeing all this experience come and go. There's no self in any of this changeful phenomena, even those subtle mental motives and descriptions and all that. Yeah. So just wanted to give that overview for anybody who's not familiar with the Vipassana practice. Go ahead.
And then he does say that like you if you do that you have it in your mind all the time because he says it so many times. Anicca, anicca.
Anicca,
It's
yeah.
like the
Anicca means
word
impermanent.
impermanence, right? I heard my breath going like Anicca, Anicca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you did that because I'm still a bit trying to integrate that into this practice. And one question for me is just, to me, the technique at some point was uh, like an insane amount of resistance, just because of like my body was full of pain at some point. And
Yeah.
of course, like you scan through your body. Um, and what, in the words of like Goenka, or then like the Buddha with Vipassana, that of course, like at the root level, what where like the avoidance and the craving, or the seeking and the craving, is the sensations. Like like that is what we crave, or are that is the level where we are not equanimous. And then mm, like when I sit down, and like yesterday I did the practice again of observing, if it's just so much easier and better at some level. But I kind of wonder, how you see it, how you, because you're not really working with the body in a sense at this, or with the sensations directly, and how you're still, they talk about like these samsaras coming up of like in the body, like with every sensation you can see you're either like there's aversion, or is it's pleasant, you're going for it. And that with every time, with every sensation, you're relaxing that habit. How how you see that in perspective to this practice?
To what, self-inquiry?
Yeah,
Well, to me, Vipassana and self-inquiry are like very, very related. They're like really two very similar techniques into the same recognition of oneself and into the same recognition that I am not what I perceive. That's one definition of Vipassana for me, is seeing that I am not what I perceive. Similarly, because in Vipassana, when you just observe, you are starting to see that whatever I observe is anicca, right? Impermanent. It is seen to come and go. There's no self in it. It is impermanent, and that it is suffering. Like, to identify with it as suffering. Those are the three characteristics of in the Buddhism of all experience. Self-inquiry is the same. To see that I is not something which I perceive. You know, and so that's why I call them sister practices. That's why, the previous version of our course used to also incorporate more so the acceptance or Vipassana practice. So, in this version, like, I felt it was more just important to, just focus on one rather than incorporate multiple things. Now in the new course, the main two things we talk about is just self-inquiry and surrender. But yeah, like, you can play with either technique because it is direct experience focused. It is a stepping out of concept and seeing life as it is. Seeing life as it is, you start to see that I am not what I perceive. So what am I? That's a natural curiosity that arises, right? When you see, let's say through the Vipassana technique, that I am not what I observe. There's no I in anything I observe. Natural curiosity bubbles up. It's like, okay, then what am I? And now this is like your whole gaze just shifts inward rather than even awareness of experience. Now it's just awareness of that which is aware, awareness of being. So it's the same, And once again, like, whenever you feel relevant, you can practice the other. As the main thing is you are out of concept. The main thing is you are in close contact with life as it is. So whatever you go about it, however you go about it, you're fine. You just see whichever is most resonating in that moment, whatever feels most natural and easy.
yeah. I mean, to me, it's like, but Vipassana is still, like, let's say Vipassana is, just so everybody could follow, like object awareness, and at the beginning, like, you
Yes.
focus on sensations, but like in the focusing on sensations is not like, at least how he taught, like maybe in the beginners course, is not, he didn't speak that much about like being also aware of what focuses on it. And I, like, at this point there's lots of pain in my body, and so just staying with that, like the sensations, of course, at some point you feel pain and you develop some equanimity, but um and it's good because it brought me at that point where I was like full of pain and like everything felt like suffering. And then I stepped into more of the self-inquiry to see, oh well, all is seemingly like hell, but there's still something of observing it. But it's just like this sensation practice. It feels less, to put it in that word, it feels less pleasant. It just feels less pleasant to
Yeah.
stay with the sensations. And I wonder if I have to go through that, or because if I do self-inquiry, it's more like, okay, all that stuff is just, it's like kind of down there or wherever passing through, and it's uncomfortable, and of course, but I don't uh, give that discomfort uh, my attention in a
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Inwardly you feel drawn more towards one. Inwardly you feel that one is more effortless than the other, more natural to you. That's what you go with. Don't feel that, oh, just because this is a little more unpleasant, maybe there's something that like, oh, I need to go through this or I need to do this because maybe I'm weaker at this. No, I say, because I felt that too. Self inquiry comes more natural to me and is more enjoyable for me and like feels more true. I don't want to say more true because both are fine, but what I mean is just feels more true for me, more resonant with me than any other practice. I did go to the Vipassana retreat because I wanted to challenge myself for 10 days and I wanted to see that
Mm.
experience is like. And when I went there, I didn't practice any self inquiry as a form of respect to their teaching. I went in there with a complete open mind without any idea of like my practice, and I just practiced what they proposed. I went there as a total student, and I loved that. But when I came back, it's just yeah, like then you just incorporate those learnings; they naturally become incorporated. But you continue with the practice that feels most natural and true to you. For me, that was always inquiry. And every now and then, like, yeah, Vipassana also is just naturally practiced. I don't make an effort to practice that, but sometimes that just, you've have to just observe life without judgment, without any involvement. There naturally comes a certain relaxation that leads to once again inwards to the curiosity, who am I? And you just being aware of being.
Mm.
So be as you are. That is the main teaching. That is the main essence of meditation. It's also what Vipassana leads to. Be as you are. Be as you are and don't identify with anything you perceive,
Yeah.
down from the most solid experiences to the most subtle sensations and motives. You are not what you perceive. All experience is a sea of change, including this experience. You are not a body sitting here with something to gain, enjoying or not enjoying. This entire experience is an appearance. It is appearing and it will soon appear as something else. You are not the body in this experience or the body in the next experience. This whole experience is an appearance. It is appearing and it's passing. What is this I which sees the appearance and disappearance of all these experiences, yet it never changes? That is our main curiosity. You are already that, right? I'm being already as I am, but now I'm just learning to not identify with experience.
Yeah, I love that you put it this way. I mean, of course, the mind can be quickly to condemn things, and I felt like I came to the same point that I was like, okay, I did it, but and it did serve me, but it's just maybe at this point doesn't fit. And then yet I was, because like in the tradition of how, let's say, the Buddha or the Buddhists go about it, or other traditions, that Vipassana is also this idea. You do that long enough, and then you come to a place where uh, you're kind of sharp enough to notice subtle things.
Mm,
But I mean, to me, somehow it seems already a bit available to notice this, and still I
Yes.
wonder um, how you kind of fit in concentration into all this, because it just, I mean, it seems like it just needs a crazy amount of concentration or
You know, Vipassana can be like perceived as that sometimes, where it's like, and especially let's say when you go to the retreat for the first 3 days, yeah, it is all about concentration. It's not really seeing experience as it is or being with the experience as it is. It is more so just concentrating, learning to concentrate. And I'm glad they teach that because like before you, we don't know what it means to be with experience as it is until we learn to concentrate a little bit or not. We have to be so successful at it, but once we start practicing concentration, you learn to see, you learn to discern between attention and thinking. So it is one thing to think about something, it is one thing to concentrate your attention on something. So but I think as we practice that, and like in the Vipassana practice, when you are observing body sensation, in the beginning it's concentration, but notice that like concentration leads to a more relaxed, expanded awareness. It just leads to awareness of experience, an all-inclusive awareness of experience. Notice how in the retreat they don't teach you whole inclusive body awareness in the beginning. They first teach you one body part at a time. You observe, you concentrate on. But little by little, as we build subtlety, you're just able to be aware, and experiences appearing and passing, appearing and passing. So that's like a more just that's I think what the essence of the technique is. It is not also a concentration. It is just being the awareness and not identifying at all with the experience that is appearing and passing like a river. To to quote unquote get there, we like concentration is taught, you know. But yeah, I don't, and sometimes you can practice that if it feels relevant, but it need not always be the case. Like, oh, I need to concentrate, because it's more so about just seeing experience as it is, being as you are. That doesn't require concentration.
right. Yeah, that's, I mean, I had it yesterday then that, after all those days, of course, I was very concentrated and,
Yeah.
maybe meditating 9 hours. And then yesterday I did the self-inquiry again. And it was a kind of a trippy experience. And maybe you can order that in a bit. I felt like, um, there was like this pull, this identification was just not there anymore. My mind was still running the ego, the trying of having to like do the self inquiry, all that stuff that uh, I thought was still kind of me doing self inquiry. Even the doing, like all that was just like a layer witnessed in a sense. Um, and I could like then it wasn't still like my mind, it wasn't still at all, it was still running like the whole show. And there was something beyond that, but then it was kind of weird because I couldn't, because it wasn't that clear, but it was so clear that I was not identified with it, but it still didn't, maybe of course that's the mind then again, but it didn't felt good or whatever. It just, that was just there. Yeah.
Yeah, but why must it appear any differently than it is appearing? That itself you can see is a mind-made motive, also observed.
Yeah.
That is also equally part of the river of experience. What wishes for something to be different than it is? Even in this experience, like just notice that the mind has a judgment towards whatever is maybe being talked about or be arising, and it wants to come to some sort of realization because of it, or it wants experience to change in some way, shape, or form. That is also equally part of the river of experience flowing. that is also equally not to be identified with.
Mm.
So even when you're like, let's say, sitting in meditation and maybe you are going deep in meditation, you're becoming quiet, you're becoming peaceful, you are alert, you are aware. And this happens to everybody, right? Like when you maybe feel that you're going deep in meditation, there's naturally some anticipation. There's some feeling of like I'm getting somewhere or something should happen. But that's what we identify with that. But even that is also just equally an experience which is appearing and it will pass, being seen by that which is ever present, which I am already. So even that sort of inclination or motive, desire, anticipation, it is a very, very subtle phenomena also observed. Even that can be seen. What sees that? I am already that which sees that. So just be and don't identify with what you see. That's where it starts to make sense why we always talk about not needing anything in this moment, because that is your nature. The mind is constantly needy, but the mind is observed. The mind is full of all of these complexes of expectation, desire, anticipation, wanting, needing, hoping, resisting. These are all these different dualities and themes of the mind, but I am not that. No matter if it is manifesting as concrete thoughts or very, very subtle inclinations, I am not that. What sees that is subtler than that, prior to that, and I need not make an effort to be as I am. I already am that, which from where I see the mind and all of its projections. Experience doesn't need to appear any differently at all. That which desires for experience to appear differently is the mind, and even that desire is observed by that which doesn't need experience to be any different than it is. I am not that tomorrow after I practice meditation. I am not that in 10 years after I get better at meditation. I am that now. Cease to identify with what you perceive, with what you observe. And the more we do so, the more we start to, like, the more these subtler layers of mind start to come into our seeing. Previously, they were just operating as me. Now, this, as you said, Joel, that your seeing becomes sharper, your seeing becomes subtler. And now all these subtler layers of the mind, which we previously had no idea about, and we had no idea that we were totally identified and operating as that. Now they start to be seen. They start to come in our view. And therefore the identification with them just starts to just drop away. If you're looking for help with your practice, join Self Inquiry School. In the school, you will embark on a 10-week meditation journey in which I will guide you day by day deeper into the experiential recognition of your true nature. Throughout your journey, you will be supported through our weekly Q&As, our guided meditations, and live online retreats. Everything is included under one membership. This year, I'm running a holiday promotion until December 15th, 2024, at which you can enroll at almost 50% off. Check the link in the description box below to learn more about how the school can help you and how to access the holiday promotion.